Welcome to KMVC News. I'm Marina Diaz. Missouri Valley hits the final 2 weeks of the semester with its fourth consecutive week of an active COVID-19 case count in single digits. Valley's case count sits at 6 per the last report on October 30th. That's up a couple from a week ago and represents 0.35% of the campus population. Missouri Valley's finals week ends November 24th. The most visible aspect of the changes due to the coronavirus may not be the lack of fans in the stands or the reduced classroom sizes, or even the ever-present masks on everyone's faces. It just may be the white mountain of styrofoam in the trash bins across campus. The students at Missouri Valley College have been allowed to take their food to go. The director of food service, Chuck Volmer, says that while the influx of trash is unfortunate, it is necessary to get through the first semester.
I don't think any of us want to put all the styrofoam in the landfill, and so in that regard, it's not favorable. But we have limited options in order to get through this initial phase.
Volmer says that the staff is happy to be almost done with this semester and that he thinks it has worked out pretty well. But he is uncertain about whether or not the students can expect to see styrofoam again next semester.
Assuming we're probably going to have to, but I'd sure like to not have to. I mean, I think everybody would love to get rid of the plexiglass and sit down with their friends.
NBC student Tahir Tucker prefers the use of styrofoam in the caf.
I like these because you can take it and just throw it away instead of taking it back.
Missouri Valley student D'Angelo Davis says that the use of styrofoam makes him feel safer being on campus during this time.
I prefer styrofoam because, with COVID and everything going on, I feel like styrofoam is a little bit more sanitary than everybody are using the same plates.
The dining hall does still offer in-person seating at 50% capacity with no more than 4 people at any one table and plexiglass dividers between the people. The styrofoam containers are meant for those who aren't eating their meals in the dining hall. The Cans for Kids event that was scheduled for Halloween had to be canceled due to complications with event setup due to COVID-19 protocols. The wrestling program and the Marshall School District could not come up with a plan on how to conduct the event in a safe manner for the wrestlers and the members of the community. The team collected more than 2,000 cans last year. The cancellation breaks an 11-year streak of the Cans for Kids event. It was the season without end for some athletes across the nation, or without a proper end, as many winter sports were shut down in March as they approached the conference and national postseason tournaments. KMVC's Shay Wilson reports on what those cancellations mean for athletes heading into 2021.
Many sports at Missouri Valley College are dual semester sports. Many athletes, like Tori Pimentel, had regular season competitions, but postseason, like nationals, were canceled.
When NCAA announced that they were going to give a season back to their athletes for spring and winter sports, I was super excited because I thought that we might have that opportunity, and now it's kind of like waiting in limbo. And those of us that are ineligible this year who lost our last year have been like trying to get back in shape and like do what we can without like getting our hopes too high. I tried to prepare for it like this summer, and it wasn't really what I was expecting. It's hard not being like physically active with the team, even though I do stuff like outside of practice, but it's not the same, and it makes me like sad not being able to like be out there and contribute when I'm still here.
With winter sports crossing over from fall semester to spring semester, there has been confusion when exactly winter season starts. MVC faculty athletic representative Marshall Lashley says, "Winter sports are starting now. Both men's and women's basketball have already started playing. Women's wrestling will have their first competition on November 7th, and men's wrestling is scheduled to compete on November 18th. Shay Wilson, KMVC News.
The NAIA has currently only added eligibility for spring sports athletes. Cooper Bryant joins us with a look at the fall sports that are wrapping up, and the Vikings faced their rivals last week.
Yes, if there's any week you can circle on the Missouri Valley sports schedule and know there's going to be a little more energy around campus, it's when the Vikings take on Central Methodist, and last week was no different. And so the top 2 teams from the Heart of America Conference took the pitch on a cold and rainy night in Marshall on the 28th. Starting off with some action from the men's matchup, as the ball from the right gets headed by a CMU defender, but only goes as far as Kainan Dos Santos, who strikes the ball with his right foot and forces a great reactionary save from the CMU keeper, Stefano Carmelengo. Later in the 34th minute, the Eagles would get a free kick just outside of the Missouri Valley penalty area. The left-footed delivery, flicked on by Carlos Scheckerman and headed just past the goal line by Tom Iron, and the Eagles would lead 1-0. And just 5 minutes later, the Eagles would double their lead when a free kick from the halfway line was lofted into the box and to the back stick by Carlos Scheckerman, escapes his marker and heads the ball all the way across the goal mouth and nestles it into the side netting, past Valley's keeper, and it's 2-0 to the Eagles going into halftime. In the 74th minute, the Eagles would strike again with another lofted through ball to the back post. This time, Jayton Johnson would get underneath and slip it past Milosevic with a half volley to his near post. The Vikings' Mike Mosier would get a free kick in the 84th minute. The Vikings' Mike Mosier would score off a free kick in the 84th minute, but would prove too little too late, as the Vikings would fall to the Eagles 3-1, and the loss to the Eagles is the second consecutive conference loss on the year. The Vikings were looking to bounce back against Clark on Halloween, and bounce back they would. The Vikings would come out and open up the floodgates against the Pride, winning the match 8-0 with a hat trick from Tom Preston. The Vikings have yet to surrender a goal to the Pride in 5 years' worth of games. With the win, the Vikings moved to 9-3-1 and 8-2-1 in the Heart of America Athletic Conference. The Valley women's team fell in the opener of the doubleheader against CMU. The Eagles had chances early, and in the 18th minute off of the match, the ball found the back of the net on a cross from CMU, but the line judge ruled no goal for offsides, and the game was locked at 0-0 after 90 minutes, but with 9 seconds remaining on the clock in the second overtime, the Vikings gave up a foul on the edge of the box on the far hash. Up stepped Ina Quintero, who struck the ball with her left foot, nestling into the top right corner of the net. Valley falls via an overtime winner, and the Eagles drops to 4-3 in the Heart of America Conference. The Vikings would go into Dubuque, Iowa, and snag a win from the Clark Pride in a back-and-forth affair over the weekend. The Vikings and the Pride would trade goals, but Valley's Kate Garibay would step up and score a late winner for the Vikings, bringing them to 5-3 overall and 5-3 in the Heart of America Athletic Conference with 4 games left on their regular season schedule. The Missouri Valley Vikings and the Evangel Crusaders were both looking for their first divisional wins of the season heading into Saturday's Halloween matinee. Both teams came off tough losses, Valley to undefeated Baker and EU to previously winless Mid-America Nazarene. Missouri Valley was also trying to stop a 3-game skid on the season. The Crusaders would open up their account on the Valley 8-yard line when quarterback Dylan Decker found the tight end Demarius Little on a screen pass for 6. With the Crusaders up 6-0, the Vikings looked to answer, and they would, as Darion Cole found Keenan Young for his first touchdown of the year, and the Vikings took a 7-6 lead over the Crusaders in the second. Off a kickoff by Jimmy Lehrman, the Crusaders kick returner Josh Denny made a house call for the Crusaders, taking the kickoff 90 yards for the score and increasing the Crusaders' lead to 20-10 after a missed extra point. The Vikings would spark a comeback, and later on in the fourth quarter, from the Crusader 34-yard line, the Vikings would take the lead. This time, Darion Cole would find a wide-open Isaac Bosley for the score, and the Vikings would lead 33-26 after a successful 2-point conversion. But the back-and-forth action continued as Dylan Decker would drop back and find his tight end, Haken Friend, for a 54-yard catch-and-run, and 6 more points for the Crusaders. Disaster would strike for the Vikings as punter Robbie Conchola would fumble a snap and the Crusaders would recover with great field position. And on the very next play, the Crusaders would find the back of the end zone again, capitalizing on the Vikings' mistakes, scoring 21 unanswered points to end the game and winning the game 47-33. The Vikings close out the home schedule on November 7th against Mid-America Nazarene. After a long 2-week quarantine, the Missouri Valley College cheerleading program started its competitive season off with a performance at the halftime of the football game. The team had a few timing errors, tumbling touchdowns, and a single stunt drop. The team has its first competition at the end of January at Midland University. The Missouri Valley women's volleyball team welcomed one of the nation's top programs to the Burns Center on the 30th as the Vikings hosted the Heart of America Conference newcomer, Park University. The Vikings fell in 3 sets to the Pirates. The Vikings were led offensively by Lauren Nausch with 16 kills on the night. And Kyoka Nakai held the defensive line for the Vikings with 13 digs on the night, although it would not be enough. The Vikings would fall to 2-10 overall and 1-9 in the Heart of America Athletic Conference as they take on Central Methodist University on November 4th in the Burns Gymnasium for the final game of the season. And that's a look at sports.
Thanks, Cooper. And that's KMVC News for this week. Thanks for watching. I'm Marina Diaz.